For Legislative Ask, every year we do have some asks that we recommend for you. This is a critical piece of your meeting because it is a call to action for your member of Congress. If you want to do an ask that isn't listed here, you can. The only thing that we do ask of you is that you provide a one-pager for the office that you are meeting with.
The Speeding Therapy Access Today Act, otherwise known as the STAT Act, was introduced in March of 2021, and it is now HR 1730 and S670. Those are the bill numbers for the House and the Senate. And basically the background, if you weren't part of Rare Cross America, I'll just cover a little bit about the bill. So the background was really developed by a coalition made up of hundreds of patient organizations through feedback at our scientific workshops, and in consultation with advocates that are part of RDLA and part of our Community Congress program. And the bill centers around the need to bring regulatory reform to the FDA to improve rare disease coordination, how they engage stakeholders, how they create regulatory science policy for rare disease, and really just the centralization of the expertise in rare disease therapeutic development and regulatory science at the FDA. Now, the Centers of Excellence, the FDA has authority to create the Centers of Excellence, and they have done so very successfully with oncology and more recently with digital health tools. Digital health devices is most recent. And we think that, very much think that there needs to be one for rare disease. The challenges that rare disease treatments face across the community are very similar. The challenges in developing drugs for very small populations, and how those clinical trials are designed, what outcomes are selected, how those outcomes are validated. Those are challenges that can be solved, at a rare disease level and will benefit the whole community, no matter what disease community that you're coming from. So the STAT Act, first and foremost, establishes that Rare Disease Center of Excellence, and it authorizes several different programs underneath that Center of Excellence, including a focus on ultra-rare diseases, which are not defined by number, but are considered the very small N of one, very small population diseases. It creates a regulatory science and grant program to spur development in ultra-rare disease. It creates the first ever federal advisory committee for rare disease and conditions that can sit within the FDA and help advise all of the different committees that are meeting to review drugs. So an important thing to note about the Rare Disease Center of Excellence, it doesn't take away authority from other existing divisions. So the medications are still being reviewed by the same divisions, but it helps aid those divisions in understanding in the complexities of rare disease. So the Federal Advisory Committee on Rare Diseases would deal with policy questions, would help lend expertise to the other committees. It also has a focus on strengthening access through creation of an early payer program, which is somewhat modeled after a device program, where it's really under the premise that early communication between payers and the FDA and sponsors can help facilitate more informed decision-making and really trying to remove the barrier of time in between the approval and the access, coverage decisions being made. So the STAT Act was a long time coming. It was a very deliberate process with our 4 co-chairs of the Rare Disease Caucus. You see those lead co-sponsors here. And since March, we've made great progress so far. You see we're up to just under 20 co-sponsors in the House, which is common that we're going to increase that number in the House more so than in the Senate right away. The EveryLife team is working to meet with committees to make sure that they are aware of the bill and the importance of it to move the process forward. and to find, to answer questions and to find ways that we can, bring the STAT Act to fruition in this Congress. So our hope is that you will all include the STAT Act and the ask to co-sponsor the STAT Act within your meetings. The next ask is co-sponsoring the Newborn Screening Saves Lives Reauthorization Act. It has been reintroduced in this Congress. It is H.R. 482 and S. 350. As you might be aware, those critical programs that are authorized in newborn screening expired in September 2019 due to the Reauthorizations Act failure to pass in the last Congress. It was passed in the House, and there is a chance that the bill can be passed in the House this week. It is possible, so you might see a little bit of a change in this one prior to Rare Disease Week, and we may be focusing on the Senate and rather than the House and the Senate. But the House did pass it last time. There are fewer hurdles to clear. There's pretty broad support, but that doesn't mean we should let up. We still need to stress the importance of this bill until it gets to the finish line, especially in the Senate. The bill authorizes critical public health programs, providing assistance to states to improve and expand their newborn screening programs. We know that there's great modernization of newborn screening that needs to take place. It supports those critical follow-up programs after the screen takes place, and it focuses on laboratory quality and surveillance. And really just, right now, the advisory committee that helps determine what conditions should go on the screening panels, the RUSP, is authorized under a different mechanism as a discretionary committee, but ultimately the other programs that are out there remain unauthorized, and it's really critical that we get this bill across the finish line for the future and the future modernization of newborn screening. It's the most critical, most successful public health program we have to date, and very critical for the rare disease populations.
So our next ask is again another co-sponsor ask, and this one is introduced right now in the Senate. So we'll be talking to our senators about co-sponsoring the Better Empowerment Now to Enhance Framework and Improve Treatments, which is a mouthful. So remembering the Benefit Act is helpful. So just a little background on the Benefit Act. Through the Prescription Drug User Fee Act and the 21st Century Cures Act, the FDA has programs and policies that are in place to ensure that patient perspectives are both gathered and made available throughout the risk-benefit analysis of potential therapies that they look for approval. However, right now, there's currently no requirement that the FDA actually use this data in their analysis or report on how the patient perspective factored into that analysis. And so the Benefit Act is to amend the Food, Drug, Cosmetic Act to include patient experience and related data to be considered as part of the benefit risk framework. And the Benefit Act would require that the FDA disclose whether and how patient experience data was used in the benefit risk assessment of new drugs. And so the section that you see here is really what it comes down to. There is this kind of matrix that the FDA uses when they're reporting on their benefit risk analysis, and it would add a section that would include patient experience data. So it's not just that we know it was available, but we can understand how it was used in that decision-making process. And so this will ensure that the patient voices are being heard and allow for patient stakeholders to continue to work with the FDA to refine the data that they need in order to make informed decisions on drug approvals. The fourth legislative ask is to, again, co-sponsor another bill. This one is the Access to Genetic Counselor Services Act, which has been introduced in both the Senate and in the House. So we can be asking this of everyone that we meet with. And so some background on this one, the genetic counselors right now are not currently recognized as providers by the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare, which really limits who can receive the critical services that board certified genetic counselors provide. And it can also prolong wait times to get genetic testing, which can result in delays in diagnosis, as well as potentially inadequate psychosocial care for patients and families. And so this act would provide reimbursement of services by board-certified genetic counselors under Part B of the Medicare program. And there's some language in there describing exactly who genetic counselors are, but those are genetic counselors that are licensed by their states, or if the state doesn't have licensure, there's language in there for the Secretary of HHS to set that criteria. And through this bill, genetic counselors will be paid at 85% of the physician fee schedule. So it would actually be saving money as to what's being reimbursed right now for physicians who are providing the services. And it would allow for telemedicine services for genetic counselors. And importantly, other practitioners who are already providing these types of services aren't going to be affected by this. It's just adding the additional coverage for genetic counseling services. And so this bill should benefit the Medicare program by providing savings and increase access to genetic services for all patients, not just those that are Medicare eligible. In addition, the bill would also cut down on wait times for patients waiting to see covered genetics providers.